各位觀眾，大家好，歡迎收睇26分鐘見證實錄。位於溫市華埠永生號大樓嘅華裔博物館，今年7月1號開始已經正式對公眾開放。而今年亦都係適逢係排華法100週年。與此同時，永生號大樓始建者葉生，佢嘅後人亦都選擇喺今年舉行一場大型嘅家族聚會。葉生當年被譽為係溫哥華華埠非官方市長。葉氏家族現時已經係發展到第7代啦，係溫哥華歷史最悠久嘅華裔家族之一。創造、承載同見證住一段段華人喺家國嘅歷史。對佢哋出生於唔同年代嘅成員嚟講啊，呢一次選擇喺今年舉行橫跨2日嘅家庭大聚會，具有啲乜嘢嘅特別意義呢？一張400人嘅家庭大合照，一個橫跨2日嘅家族大聚會。聚會活動有展覽，有家庭成員講解家族歷史。
So let's start with what we know. Wing-Sang was a store. Here's an ad from 1894.
重點節目係參觀已經變成華裔博物館嘅祖家永生號大樓。
Welcome to the Wing-Sang tour.
呢個家族7代人，家庭樹上超過970人嘅名字，一齊編織及見證住華人喺家國嘅一段段歷史。
Might have to go outside, but let's just try this because we have an old photo that's all of you in here. All right.
要影一張差唔多400人嘅家庭大合照，攝影師的確要花一啲時間。
2, 3, big smiles. Hang on, I gotta move back.
呢一日有一個華裔家庭喺溫哥華華埠舉行家庭聚會。呢個家庭聚會有差唔多400人出席，要動用到華埠嘅中華文化中心大禮堂作為場地。佢哋全部都係知名華裔先驅葉生嘅後裔。
Well, my name is Linda Yip. I'm the great-granddaughter of Yip Sang. My grandfather is uncle number 5, and I'm the eldest daughter of the eldest son of number 5.
Linda 葉秀玲係負責籌組今次家庭聚會嘅成員之一。
This year, because it's 2023, it's the 100th year of the Exclusion Act, and also the opening of the Chinese Canadian Museum. So we thought that would be a perfect time to bring the family together.
佢哋差唔多用咗1年時間去籌備。
It was in 2022, I believe it was in the fall. Sometime we had gathered to have a family dinner because my cousin Linda, who is the genealogist, had come to town, and my Aunt Grace had organized a family dinner. And it was at this family dinner that Aunt Grace says, I think it's time for the younger generation to carry on with a reunion. And so she planted the seed.
葉生當年有4名太太同23名子女。現時家族已經發展到第7代。
Trying to find everybody. That was a major challenge because the family is so spread out. Now we are 7 generations, and not everyone lives in Vancouver. Not everyone has maintained contact with each other. It was quite amazing that we managed to get it all together. So, there were 6 of us, and each one of us came from different branches of the family. So we had contact with most of the families, and once we got contact with representatives of each family, then it became easier to get the word out. The other process was just deciding where the whole event planning, where to hold the reunion, what kind of events that we were going to have, who was going to make a presentation, what the presentations were, where we were going to have dinner. whether this was going to be a one-day event or a three-day event.
結果佢哋決定聚會分2日舉行。由於家族成員眾多，所有家庭成員嘅名牌上面都有數字編碼，方便大家知道對方係出自葉生第幾個子女，以及係邊一代嘅子孫。
I'll be sharing Wing Sang's stories from an economic perspective. So when Chinese came to Canada, all these bachelors, so-called bachelors, really married men, supporting their families, sending money back. Why are they doing that? Like why? They're doing it to support their families who are starving to death at home.
第一日嘅活動主要係俾時間大家相認相聚，以及有唔同嘅家族成員演講，主要係介紹葉生、永生號大樓同埋本地華人歷史。
Amazed that kitchen held all those people.
And Wing Sang held all those people.
Wing Sang held all those people.
現年93歲嘅 Rosalie 葉美慈係現時葉氏家族中年紀最大嘅成員，佢係葉生嘅孫女。
Well, it's kind of exciting to see all my cousins and aunts and uncles if they're still around. You know, just to talk to them, but because normally there's so many of us, we don't keep close contact with them. That's like the families do, you know. But I only had 2 brothers, and they were never married. They didn't. One was married, and the youngest one didn't marry. And I was married, but I lived in New Westminster when I got married. So you're sort of far away. And my mom and dad lived in Wing Sang until they were elderly.
Rosalie 嘅祖父葉生係喺1889年建造永生號大樓，並且先後喺1901年同1912年擴建變成6層高嘅建築。大樓當年除咗係永生公司做生意嘅地方之外，亦都係葉生同埋眾多子女兒孫所居住嘅地方。經歷100年變遷，今年夏季，永生號大樓正式變成華裔博物館。
I am one of the many grandchildren of Yip Sang, the original builder and owner of the historic Wing Sang building, now the site of the Chinese Canadian Museum. Yip Sang left China, traveled to California to find a better life for himself, but finally, thank goodness, settled in Vancouver. He came with nothing, but became a successful merchant and agent for the Canadian Pacific Railway.
貓葉葉榮日亦都係葉生嘅孫兒。華裔博物館開幕當日，佢被邀請為其中一名致辭嘉賓。
There'll be 100 the first group.
And there are 25 per floor.
Well, this is more of an in-depth tour. I'm going to walk you through the building. Okay, all right, everybody. Oh, wow, this is special. Oh, we have an officer helping us. Thank you, officer. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
而葉氏家族聚會嘅第2日活動就係分批入去參觀啱啱開幕嘅華裔博物館。Mel 同 Rosalie 輩份較高，所以被安排第一批入內參觀。
This is where he started his operation. His Wing Sang company was started right here in the space that we're standing in 1889. So I wanted to just share that with you to give you some context because you're seeing everything here today in a modern space. It's beautiful, it's got glass, it's got drywall. Back in those days, these would have been wood planks and brick. You okay? Good. Yeah, you're good, you're perfect.
I was born in 1935 and I moved out in 1950, so 15 years I lived there. All good memories. It was happy times. I was never lonely. I had my grandmother on the 6th floor, my uncles, my aunts, and I had all my cousins to play with. The only thing I remember is the schoolroom. Everything else has changed. When I first went in there for interviews, I got disoriented. I didn't know where I was.
Oh, I'm proud of it. I'm proud of that building, that it became something, you know, something that everybody can remember. Because what if you If you lived there and didn't have anything connected with Ringside except that where you were born, nobody would come and visit that building, right? So now, yeah, now that the families that grew up will come back and see it.
But the brick that you're looking at is the foundational wall of the rear building that's 6-story. And I don't know, can anybody see what's written on that wall? I know you're closest, Mel. I'm going to ask you. What?
Ladies and men.
It says ladies and men's. I'm wondering what that could be.
Toilet.
Toilet. That's a good guess. You're exactly right.
博物館內還原咗葉家家庭廳部分嘅模樣。對於喺呢一棟大樓長大嘅 Mel 同 Rosalie 嚟講，分外親切。
These are the original cousins.
Oh, yeah.
14, 13, 8.
I'm number 13.
Yeah, we don't call our uncle's name. We just call them by numbers.
There's a lovely portrait of Mel's grandmother here in the corner. And that's an original photo. Really lovely to have them here.
All we know is the Yima.
抬頭一望 ，Mel 亦都揾到唔少兒時回憶。
The sixth floor up top is where I live. 4 families, numbers 4, 6, 8, and 12. So I'm number 8. And can you imagine 4 families in 1 floor sharing 1 kitchen, 2 toilets, and 1 bathroom with a tub? And can you imagine 4 sister-in-laws preparing meals, cooking meals, and then eating?
其實葉氏家族過去舉行過5次家族聚會，第一次喺1972年，上一次就係喺2008年。當時買下大樓嘅地產業人士 Bob Rennie 邀請佢哋參觀就快修葺完成嘅永生號大樓。而今次就係第6次，配合今年華裔博物館開幕以及排華法實施100週年，今次嘅聚會有多重意義。
So grandfather in Chinese called a company Wing Sang. It means everlasting. So having 23 children, he was ensure an everlasting legacy. But now, attached with the Canadian Chinese Museum, he would have a lifetime of legacy. Perfect combination. And I think it's important because I think they play a strategic role in educating the younger generation of all the early Chinese immigrants, their challenges, their hardship of getting recognized. And it wasn't until 1947 when they successfully got rid of the 1923 Chinese Exclusion Act that they were actually recognized. My number 17 uncle, Uncle Doc, was a lawyer, and I'm proud to say he was one of the 2 lawyers involved in repealing that 1923 Chinese Exclusion Act.
葉生家族幾代後人一齊重遊已經成為華裔博物館嘅永生號大樓，佢哋各自有啲乜嘢嘅感受呢？而對於今次嘅家族聚會，唔同輩份嘅成員分別有啲乜嘢嘅期望，各自又有啲乜嘢嘅得着呢？下一節翻嚟再睇。翻嚟節目時間。對於葉生家族嚟講啊，現時成為咗華裔博物館嘅永生號大樓祖業，肩負起將華裔歷史以及文化遺產傳承落去嘅重任。而佢哋呢一個甚具歷史意義嘅家族，亦都希望透過定期嘅家族聚會，將歷史一代一代咁傳承落去。葉生原名葉春田，喺1881年遷移到加拿大卑詩省，後來受僱於加拿大太平洋鐵路公司，負責管理超過6000名華工。佢喺1888年自立門戶，喺溫哥華創立永生號，經營出入口生意，係華埠最大嘅進出口貿易公司之一。葉生當時亦都努力幫助其他華裔移民克服社會、經濟同政治上遇到嘅各種困難，更加協助建立中華會館，咁所以有溫哥華華埠非官方市長嘅稱號。
There's an Edward Dong. That's who?
Yeah, that's my father.
Okay, okay.
He passed away in '81.
Mitchell Dong 曾良恩，佢嘅外祖母係葉生嘅長女。
I like hearing stories of people, and I come with the expectation of meeting, you know, I don't know, dozens of my cousins and listening to their stories, and which inspires me.
佢遠道由波多黎各嚟到溫哥華參加呢一次嘅家族聚會。雖然佢自己並非喺溫哥華長大，但係對於家族歷史好感興趣。
Certainly very proud. I mean, we just heard this incredible presentation about all of his businesses and his families and his philanthropy and how generous he was. So it's just be proud of the heritage. My mother comes from the family, and she had many stories about Yip Sang and all of her cousins. And then I had bonding, of course, with my grandmother, my mother's mother, and her stories.
Mitchell 話：佢參加完呢一次嘅家族聚會之後，佢有一個諗法，就係希望整理出一個記錄有關葉生後裔履歷嘅資料庫。
It's a very happy time to celebrate all that we've been through the hard times, and as we saw Linda speak, and I was hoping. Well, there will be stories told by the current generations, and how much, all the doctors and the lawyers and academics and all the successful business people we have in the current generation. So Yip Sing would be very proud to see that among these 986 people, there are a lot of people that are as successful as he was, thanks to him.
Well, there's an intense pride of being a part of this family and the legacy of Yip Sang. He was a pioneer at his time that encouraged the growth of Chinatown and the community of the Chinese people. The building itself was an anchor for the Chinese people in Vancouver, and he created the fabric of Chinatown as it is today.
Julie 葉芳葉秀苑係葉生嘅曾孫。兩日嘅聚會期間，佢忙過不停幫忙打點。唔係同其他家族成員一齊參觀過已經變成華裔博物館嘅永生號大樓之後，佢話佢有複雜嘅感受。
For me, it's a very strange feeling because it's not a home anymore as I remember it. I remember it as being apartments for our families to live in, and it was full of life, and we would always come back on occasions. My grandmother actually was one of the last to occupy an apartment here. And on Chinese New Year's, we would all return to this building. However, I am grateful that the building will be preserved for the longevity of the community.
佢認為佢哋嘅家庭就係加拿大華裔移民史嘅一頁。
I would like the future generation to remember great-grandfather, his story and his legacy. He was an individual that was forward-thinking and industrious at his time. And he always gave back to the community, whether it was through his philanthropy or his ideology of community, promoting the Chinese people, creating a benevolent society, or encouraging education, and especially education amongst women. And I think that that's really what is important for me, is that the future generations know their history, the family history.
Hi!
Welcome to the Wing building.
以葉生為第一代嚟計算，今年13歲嘅 Ella Kennedy 係家族第5代成員。今次係佢第一次參加葉家大聚會。
I have so many relatives I have never met before, and it's just kind of mind-blowing that you can walk into that huge room full of like hundreds of people, and they're all like somehow like blood related to you or by marriage. And I just think it's really cool because it creates a sense of community that you didn't really see before, because this is the first reunion that I've been to. They all have bowl cuts. They do. Like all the girls have the same hair. The bob cut.
佢對家族歷史嘅認識係嚟自一次學校嘅課題研究。
In grade 4, I did a history project on him. I was struggling to find ideas, so then my mom and I call her my aunt, but technically she's my second cousin once removed. She suggested that I do a project on Yip Sang because then I can have a personal connection to it. And I actually learned a lot. It made the project a lot more interesting that I had that connection, that he was my great-great-grandfather. But I actually learned a lot from that project.
希利葉葉敏儀同樣係葉家第5代成員。葉生一生嘅事蹟，似乎都成為咗佢後代喺學校之中學習嘅課題。
Last semester for my social studies class, we were told to do a personal heritage project. So I thought, oh, this would be a perfect time to talk about like my family heritage. So I created, I think, a 20-minute long video about all about Wing Sang and his effects on Vancouver and Canada, and just how like his impact now on modern-day Vancouver.
上一次08年嘅葉氏家族聚會，希莉只得2歲，今次就正式認真咁投入參與。
I hope to get out of this reunion was definitely learn more about my family heritage. Even as it is with the presentations and going to the museum, I've learned so much more. And I already thought I knew a lot, but I guess I don't. And it was just so interesting, like learning more, being around my family. And another thing that I hope to get out of was meet new people.
作為年輕一代，對家國華人嘅一段段歷史有啲乜嘢感受呢？
I don't think that the Chinese Exclusion Act was a very good part in history. It's definitely like affected all Chinese people here very much, and I think it still has lasting effects on many people now. But overall, I think if we can like move on from it and understand that people are more than just like their race and ethnicity, and there's like so much more that people have to bring to like our society, that I hope that there will be no effects or anything like that ever again in the future.
I'm here to welcome you to this reunion dinner with special thanks to those who come from other cities as far away as the Netherlands, I understand.
呢一餐家庭飯局有30幾席，亦都係呢一次2日家庭聚會嘅總結活動。一個具歷史代表性嘅華裔家族，選擇喺具歷史意義嘅一年聚首一堂，老中青幾代人似乎都有唔同嘅得着。就好似排第6代嘅 Natasha Wong 承認，佢原本對家族背景認識好少，但係經過今次嘅活動之後，就好似上咗一課歷史課。
Just because I don't speak Cantonese, I don't speak Mandarin. I don't grow up doing all of the cultures and the traditions, so I think in a lot of ways I felt a little bit out of touch from my Chinese heritage, just because, I mean, I've been super fortunate to have grown up here and have my family be established here for so long, but at the same time feeling a little bit farther away from how I grew up, and like now learning about that Chinese heritage has been super cool, but then a little bit challenging at the same time.
That's one of the reasons why we put the video together. The video is not just about Yip Sang and his immigration into Canada and BC, but we included the history of the head tax, the history of the Exclusion Act, the apology from the BC government and the Canadian government to the Asian community for the discrimination that they endured. That was all part of a conscious effort on our part to educate the younger generation, to ensure that the younger generation understand their Asian roots and the history of Yip Sang in BC.
經過多個月嘅籌備安排，有份負責籌組今次家族聚會嘅 Linda Yip 期待下一次再聚。
I'm so happy that we've had such a wonderful turnout with family, and I can't wait to see the next generation plan the next reunion. We all have little bits of Yip in us, and we all have some characteristics.
1, 2, 3, yeah!
好啦，今集嘅節目時間又夠啦。咁如果觀眾對我哋嘅節目有啲乜嘢意見嘅話，係好歡迎大家以電郵嘅方式同我哋聯絡㗎。如果觀眾想上網重溫翻今集嘅節目，亦都可以上到去我哋嘅網站點擊節目重溫一欄。下星期同樣時間再同大家見面，晚安。